From 1989 to 2003, the West African nation of Liberia was torn apart by two of the deadliest civil wars the continent has ever seen. In a country of 2.5 million people, more than 200,000 lives were lost, while another million people were displaced, and that was just from the first Civil War. It was a bloodbath as entire towns were wiped out. Families were ripped apart overnight. Children, some as young as 9 years old, were handled rifles and forced to fight. The situation was so bad that one could catch a flying bullet crossing the road before they could find water. With no food, no water, and no safety, people picked up guns to ensure their survival, little to do with the politics involved. Others had no choice but to flee, leaving behind everything they knew, all for the hope of a better future. Liberia, which in itself means a place of freedom and independence, found itself torn apart by power-hungry politicians. Over the course of the two wars, more than 2 million people abandoned their homes. Some found refuge in the neighboring countries, while humanitarian organizations were making sure to aid them. While others worked their way into the United States in search of that American dream, giving birth to a new wave of athletes in the NFL who were born in adversity. This is the untold story of those Liberian players who refuse to be told what they can or cannot do. Tamba Hali. Tamba's story can make a grown man cry. His family was among those who were displaced from their homes during the war. Imagine being a kid and everything you know crumbles around you. A mere 10-year-old boy carrying heartbreak and hope in equal measure. His father, Henry Hali, was a quiet genius, a chemistry and physics professor living in New Jersey. But he wasn't just teaching in classrooms. He was building an escape plan. He somehow managed to get Tamba and his 7 siblings out of West Africa and across the Atlantic to safety in the United States. It was a miracle in motion. But there was one painful catch. Tamba's mom couldn't come. Because Henry and Tamba's mother weren't married, the system said no. Bureaucracy over family. And just like that, Tamba had to leave the woman who gave him life in a country that was far from being safe. But Tamba didn't fold. He knew if he wanted to meet his mother again, football was the way to go. He was enrolled in the 5th grade, but he didn't know a word in English. Yet he refused to give up. He worked like a man on a mission in high school, caught the eyes of scouts, and earned his shot at Penn State. Tamba became a force of nature on the field, earning his All-American honors even before he officially became an American citizen, because it was personal. Every snap, every tackle, every win was him inching closer to his mom, closer to the life his parents deserved. And then came the NFL draft in 2006. The stakes couldn't be higher. But Tamba just didn't make it. He made it big. He was drafted in the 1st round by the Kansas City Chiefs. Not long after that, in a moment that felt like a full circle, Tamba raised the money to bring his mother to the United States. She watched her son deliver 1.5 sacks against the Niners, winning the game by 41-0. But the real victory wasn't on the scoreboard. It was in the stands, where a mother and son were finally reunited. Tamba's career was nothing short of legendary. He spent 12 seasons with the Chiefs, racked up 6 Pro Bowl selections, and became one of the most feared defenders in the league. He finished with the 2nd most sacks and forced fumbles in franchise history, right behind the icon, Derrick Thomas. But here's the thing. Tamba's legacy isn't just about numbers. When Ebola ravaged Liberia in 2014, guess who stepped up without hesitation? No press tours, no PR campaigns, just Tamba, quietly donating $50,000 to help build a 70-bed treatment center. And he didn't stop there. He's given tens of thousands of dollars to support West Africa over the years, always giving, always grounded. And when his cleats were finally hung up, Kansas City honored their warrior by inducting him into the Chiefs Hall of Fame, forever etching his name among the greats. But hold up, it gets even better. Off the field, Tamba got bars. Yeah, he raps. His basement doubles as a recording studio, where he turns pain, pride, and perseverance into music. For him, it's therapy. It's storytelling. It's him. And if that wasn't enough, after becoming a U.S. citizen in 2006, he picked up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. By 2017, he had earned his purple belt under the legendary Ryron Gracie, because for Tamba, the fight never ends. It just takes on new forms. Tamba Hali is more than an athlete. He's a testament to what's possible when resilience meets opportunity. And just when you think his story can't get more inspiring, wait till you hear about the next athlete who nearly lost everything before rising to greatness. Jehuu Caulcrick didn't just survive a war. He lived through the kind of pain most of us can't even imagine. Born in Liberia, he watched people he loved vanished in front of him. His brother was killed. His grandfather was shot while trying to protect the family. And then, as if all wasn't enough, he read in a newspaper that his father had been assassinated. That's the kind of grief that could crush anyone. But Jehu and his family kept moving, slipping through refuge camps, stepping over lifeless bodies, just trying to survive another day. Meanwhile, his mother, Bonita Caulcrick, who was building an escape plan for him in the USA, came back for her kids while Liberia was in a chaotic state. She flew to the Ivory Coast, driven by fear and hope. From there, she crossed into war-torn Liberia by road, gambling her life at every checkpoint, only to find her home empty. A whisper from a neighborhood revealed that her parents and her kids were displaced amidst the chaos. Refusing to give up, she traced the path of the displaced and found her kids and parents in a packed refuge camp in Ghana. But her struggle did not end there. In an interview, she recalled how the embassy was giving her a hard time processing the paperwork, so she had no other choice but to protest. "I'm staying right here in the embassy because I know nowhere else to go," she told the bureaucrats. "I don't even know if I have a job to go back to because I've been here 2.5 months." Her demand paid off as just a day later, she had the visas in her hand. Eventually, Jehu and his family fled the country seeking a new life in America. Jehu made it to Finley Lake, New York, with his mother and sister when he was just 9. It was a quiet town, so different from everything he knew, but somehow, that little town became the place where he started again. He wanted to play soccer at first, but the school didn't have a team. So he gave football a try. Just one small choice, and it changed everything. He played for Clymer Central School, the smallest football-playing school in all of New York State. But he didn't just play, he dominated. Under Coach Howard McMullen, he helped the team win 4 straight Section 6 Class D titles. He scored 100 touchdowns and rushed for over 6,500 yards. In his senior year alone, he racked up over 2,100 yards and 28 touchdowns. Player of the Year honors came like clockwork. Then came college. Michigan State saw what everyone else was starting to notice. They brought him in as a linebacker, but his fire to run the ball couldn't be ignored. Over his time as a Spartan, Jehu rushed for nearly 2,400 yards and scored 39 touchdowns, the second most in school history. He was a captain by his senior year, not just a player, a leader, a rock. And through it all, he kept his head on straight. He earned a sociology degree. He never forgot where he came from, never lost his grip on what mattered. When the 2008 NFL draft came, it didn't just go as he hoped. His name wasn't called. But Jehu wasn't the type to let that stop him. He kept working, kept pushing. The New York Jets gave him his first shot as an undrafted free agent. That first year was a whirlwind. Signed, waived, re-signed, waived again. Over and over. Most people would have walked away, but Jehu kept showing up. In 2009, Tampa Bay brought him onto their practice squad. Then, San Francisco gave him a future contract. He got waived again, came back again, because that's what survivors do. They don't stop. Eventually, he stepped away from the field into something even bigger. He moved to Warren, Michigan, and became an executive at a recruiting firm called Crossfire. He poured into others, shared his knowledge, lifted people up. He returned to football as a coach, first as an assistant to Westfield Brockton High School, then as head coach at Southwestern Central. Over nearly 5 seasons, he led the team to a 31-11 record. And just when it seemed like that might be his next chapter, the NFL called again, this time with an opportunity to make the game safer for everyone. A role focused on player safety and equipment testing, a job that brought him to Detroit. From war-torn villages to the heart of American football, Jehuu Caulcrick's life has been one long lesson in resilience, every step of the way. He's shown what it means to fight forward, to lose everything and still give everything you've got. We barely scratched the surface here, and even though we have 5 more players to go, this list does not cover all the names of Liberian players, but it does serve as an ode to their often unrecognized underdog stories. Kwity Paye's journey began in the refuge camps in Guinea back in 1998. His mother, Agnes, had fled Liberia amidst the horrors of its civil war, a war that destroyed families and buried dreams. She escaped with her only 2 sons and an unbreakable will to survive, determined to give them a better future, no matter what it took. Eventually, they made it to Rhode Island, but even though they were safe, life was far from easy. They lived in public housing, and money was always tight. Kwity's mother worked multiple jobs, pouring every ounce of her strength into giving her sons the opportunity she never had. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about creating a future for them. Kwity took that fire and ran with it, literally. He discovered football in high school, and from that moment on, it was as if a switch had been flipped inside of him. He was fast, he was strong, and most importantly, he was driven. That hunger to succeed didn't go unnoticed. Colleges started calling. He landed at the University of Michigan, where he quickly made a name for himself as one of the most explosive edge rushers in college football. Coaches admired his relentless work ethic. His teammates fed off his energy, and every time he stepped onto the field, he carried the weight of his mother's sacrifices with him. In 2021, Kwity's dreams became a reality when he was drafted in the first round by the Indianapolis Colts. As he walked across the stage, the first thing he said was, "She's done working." That moment wasn't just for him, it was for his mom, the woman who had worked tirelessly to make his success possible. Paye didn't just play the game, he changed it. And just like the next player's story, who had to leave everything behind as a child, it's a reminder of the resilience it takes to overcome the toughest of challenges. Kelvin Harmon's journey didn't start on a football field. It started in a place where survival was the only goal. Liberia, torn apart by war. He was just 4 years old when his family escaped, seeking a safer life in the United States. But even in the States, life wasn't easy. They had to rebuild everything from scratch. But through it all, Kelvin watched his parents pour every ounce of energy to making sure their family had a shot at a better future. Their strength and resilience inspired him. Deep inside, Kelvin made himself a promise. He would make them proud. Football became his way out, his way up. He practiced every day like his life depended on it, like the weight of his family's dreams was resting on his shoulders. And in a way, it was. At North Carolina State, he was unstoppable. Throughout his career, he became one of the most reliable receivers in college football. By the time he finished, he had racked up 2,505 yards and 19 touchdowns. In 2018, he caught a career-high 11 touchdowns, proving that when the stakes were high, his heart was even higher. Then came the NFL draft, and it wasn't easy. Kelvin waited and waited and waited. Team after team passed on him. It hurt, but quitting was never an option. When Washington took him in the 6th round of the 2019 draft, Kelvin didn't complain. He just showed up and got to work. His rookie season wasn't smooth sailing at all. Inquiries challenged him every step of the way, but he kept pushing. He ended up with 30 receptions for 365 yards. It wasn't a dream debut he had in mind, but it was a testament to his heart and determination. Because when you live through war, when fear has been your constant companion, when you get a second chance to life, you don't stop. You fight. Kelvin Harmon's story isn't just about football. It's about a little boy from a war-torn country who refused to let his past define him. He fought for his family, for his future. Ultimately, he became a hero. Tapeh was just an infant when his father was killed in the war, and his mother was left to protect him and his 2 sisters as best as she could. Tapeh held onto something that war couldn't steal: hope. Eventually, his family made their way to the United States, but starting over wasn't easy. The boy once ran for his life, dodging bombs and bullets, now had to navigate the unfamiliar world of being an immigrant. A new country, a new life, and a whole lot of challenges ahead. But in the face of it all, something powerful happened. Tapeh discovered football. He wasn't just playing to escape, he was playing to build something, to prove something. In high school, he made a name for himself quickly. Standing at 6 feet tall and 250 pounds, he became a force to be reckoned with. By the time he reached college at the University of Minnesota, Tapeh had already shown his potential. As a fullback, he was known for his strength, power, and relentless drive. He was paving the way for victories and making himself a key player in a larger story. But it was his next step that truly changed everything. In 2004, Tapeh was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 5th round of the NFL draft. And from there, his dream became a reality. He played with the Eagles for several seasons. He even helped them reach Super Bowl 39. Injuries may have cut his NFL career short, but Tapeh's legacy was already written. Even after leaving the field, Tapeh never stopped giving. Today, he continues to inspire young athletes, pouring his energy into helping them navigate their own journeys. His story from war-torn Liberia to the grand stage of the NFL is proof that no matter where you start, resilience can carry you to places you never thought were possible. Tapeh didn't just survive. He showed the world that no matter what life throws at you, if you keep fighting, keep believing, anything is achievable. Jehu Chesson was just a young boy when the first Liberian Civil War tore his world apart. His father, Jehu Sr., became a relief worker, stepping up to help those around him. When Jehu was only 2 years old, his family had to flee the country. They found refuge in Côte d'Ivoire before eventually settling in St. Louis, Missouri, where Jehu's journey would take its next turn. Football wasn't even on his radar at first, but when he gave it a try in 8th grade, he discovered something he was passionate about. By high school, he was already standing out as a star wide receiver at Laude Horton Watkins High School, where he racked up 53 catches for 757 yards and took home accolades all around. But that wasn't all. Jehu also dominated 300-meter hurdles at the Missouri State Championships. Then came the breakout in year 2015. Jehu finished the season with 1,085 all-purpose yards, 12 touchdowns, and career-high stats in both receiving and returning. At Michigan, he truly made his mark, tying the school record with 4 touchdowns in a single game. His hard work earned him a place on the All-Big Ten first team, cementing his status as one of the top players in college football. In 2017, Jehu's dream came true when he was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in the 4th round of the NFL draft. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one that he worked his whole life for. And just like that, his world went from war to victory. Underdog stories are not new to the NFL, but this story is not about football. It's not just about making it into the NFL, although that is what the title says, but it's something bigger than that. The story's about survival, about the grit. It's about the mothers who walk the path of death for the safety of their children. It's all about the fathers who overcame unimaginable hardships to provide a new life for their kids. And finally, it's about those who never let others tell them what they can or cannot achieve. Thanks for watching.